A very warm welcome everyone, my name is Nick and it's 2 weeks roundup time where we look at the videos we've sort of reviewed over the last couple of weeks, put them in some kind of order. Just like last time, it's been a bit of a jam-packed session. I don't know how I fitted it all in, but as I said last time, it might be calming down soon. Will it? Possibly, possibly not. So, we've now got another situation where there are some games I quite liked, which didn't make it to my top 6, and normally they would do, just because of the sheer volume, really. One game that's not going to be included in the top 6 this time, because we don't include the Super Mega games within it, because it's unfair to compare them against retro gaming, but we had a bit of a play run through of Grand Theft Auto 5 by Rockstar Games. It's also come out on the PlayStation 4, but I played it on the PlayStation 3. And playing that game, I don't know if you've watched that video, but playing that game I just couldn't believe it was on the PlayStation 3. It was absolutely awesome. I committed a number of crimes which I'm not proud of, but you know, in that town it's a bit hard to obey the law the whole time. We had a tennis game, we had a haircut and all other exciting things, and games which combine driving, tennis and haircuts always are quite good. Pinball games we looked at as well on the PlayStation 4 by Zen Studios. We're going through the Vengeance and Virtue pack. There's 4 tables and we covered the last 2 in that this time. There was Ghost Rider, based on the Marvel anti-character, which is basically a skull-faced person on a motorbike who can set fire to stuff. I've been told there was a film about Ghost Rider starring Nicolas Cage, something I haven't seen. The table itself looks pretty cool, it's in line with all the other ones there. And the other one in that series we looked at was X-Men. You got Magneto, Professor Xavier, all the usual ramps. Both tables are pretty colourful, they're easily set out, and they're quite welcoming tables. Now, I've said it before quite a few times, the pinball tables tend to be, or the pinball reviews tend to be things that are viewed the least at all the channels. I know I have got thank you for some people that watch them that do like those sort of things. We're going to take a short break from that, might be 1 or 2 weeks, and then we might dive back in again. I just wanted to give a bit of a break, give me a chance to get my breath back, but we have been doing it every week for about 18 months to 2 years, so, you know, perhaps we would deserve a bit of a break there. There will be something going up, but not pinball, at least a week or 2, maybe. Tell me what you think. Anyway, and also, we've been going through the Sega Mega Drive Ultimate Collection on the PlayStation 3, released in 2009 based on older Mega Drive games. We looked at Alex Kidd in the Enchanted Castle, a game I never played back in the day. It's a cute platformer, which was later superseded by Sonic the Hedgehog in terms of Sega's main mascot. It's not bad. There's a few things I wasn't doing in that video, people told me I could do later on, which is quite always the case, and I quite like that sort of thing. Well, I wasn't going in shops and playing paper, scissors and stone so I can gamble my coins I collected to buy vehicles like the pogo stick and the bike, which have made things a lot easier. But a pretty good game, not my favourite on the collection, but pretty good game. And the other one we looked at, sort of like mentioned it before there, a real good classic, Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, why haven't I played this in the past, I do not know, but I think it's every badge of honour on any retro gaming, even if you didn't own the system, to cover Sonic the Hedgehog at least once. Didn't come out on the Amiga or the Spectrum, although I think US Gold or Go had the licence, never actually happened. Probably because it was rubbish, but there we go. Now the battery's going on the camera, I haven't plugged it in. Emergency stations! Right, are you still there? We're back. We're back for good. There was a wire down there that wasn't plugged in properly. Hooray! And suddenly everything looks brighter. Where were we? Yes, Sonic the Hedgehog is good. Man, how's this place holding together? What else can we say? Yes, right, top 6. That's what we need to do. Brilliant. Okay. You can tell this is a channel just run by one person, can't you? Sometimes, but I try my best. There's a blog. I don't know. I wasn't going to mention this. I was going to do it in a separate video, but I've recently started doing a blog as well, so I haven't got time to do a video with updated news. Or I'll do actually a non-video blog. If you go to my main site, there's a B for blogger, click on that and you can go there. Generally it's just announcing videos that have gone up, but occasionally there might be a bit of news. Anyway, there we go. Not monetised yet, but could be. Back to on the subject. Now, games that didn't make the top 6, quite a few, which normally would have done. So I just run through them a little bit, because you might want them in the top 6. The worst game of the 2-week session, I think by far, It's a quiz show game on the ZX Spectrum called The KRYPTON Factor, published by TV Games in 1987. It's trying to replicate the game hosted by Gordon Burns on ITV at the time, where the idea was you have contestants on the show, general members of the public, and through general knowledge, obstacle courses, observation rounds, you got to test their, try and find the country's super person in the UK. Terribly executed, clunky interface, a way of cheating at the end where you can just say if your answers are right or wrong or not, even whatever you type in. Very, very poor game and unenjoyable experience. So let's just zip through these. The next one on the Commodore Amiga, bit of a disappointment again, is Dan Dare 3 The Escape by Virgin Games, based on Dan Dare the character from Eagle Comics. Really, really, really like this game on the ZX Spectrum. It's really colourful, it's pretty difficult but fine, but all the charm is actually gone out of this 16-bit version. Looks like it's done in the course of an afternoon, maybe on some Amos program or something like that. It's got the name and it looks a little bit like the 8-bit counterpart, but all the fun is absolutely gone from this, and there's no real reason to go back to it. As far as I'm aware, the original Dan Dare, Pilot of the Future, and Dan Dare 2 didn't come out on the Commodore Amiga, and thank God for that. Next one is a bit of a cheeky game on the ZX Spectrum 48K. It's KRAKOUT 2 by FIREFLY Software, we should say, in 1988. I don't think this was an official release. I'm not absolutely sure about it. The original KRAKOUT came out in 1987, which is a breakout clone from the arcades where using a bat and a ball you must destroy a selection of bricks arranged in different ways with power-ups and so forth. I love KRAKOUT, but I've marked this one down because KRAKOUT 2 looks like the same thing. It looks like someone's hacked into the game and just made different levels. Interesting, but I can't put this in the top 6 because the invention isn't there. It's essentially the same game. If this was KRAKOUT 1 instead of KRAKOUT 2, it might have come first or second, but it's not. So there you go, mark that down. Next game, don't get confused, is a game actually called FIREFLY now, by Ocean in 1988. This game is excellent, so why haven't I got it in the top 6? Well, graphically it's good, sound it's good, and I liked it, but I didn't have the faintest idea what was going on. The instructions are quite unclear. You control this ship, a wasp. Essentially, you've been away from the galaxy for a while, or solar system. You've come back and the whole thing's overtaken by machines, and you must blow them up. But you're trying to find nodes and networks. Some people who commented knew what was going on. I was clueless. So the game looks good, and as a kid I would have played it hours just exploring randomly. It doesn't make the top 6. And the last one that didn't make it, was probably controversial, is Wings of Death by THALION Software in 1990. That was on the Commodore Amiga. It's a vertical scrolling shooter. About a month or so ago when I did a video on my top 10 vertical scrolling shooters of all time, people mentioned a few other ones that they would have liked to see in there. There was Wings of Death, the sequel Lethal Excess, which we'll come to soon no doubt, and also I think Mega Typhoon. Wings of Death's not my favourite game of all time. I was a little bit disappointed with it. Sound is brilliant, graphically it's okay, very, very difficult, and the speech on the top sound isn't by a professional voice actor, it don't seem. It seems a bit half-hearted. It would have maybe got into the bottom of my top 10, because there's not that many decent shooters on the Commodore Amiga. It would have just scraped in, maybe knocked out Gemini Wing, or possibly Xenon out of the top 10, but, you know, not as good as all that. Hopefully the sequel will be a bit better. Okay, so, have we covered everything? I've got my list in front of me. You probably notice my eyes drop down every now and again. The top 6. Power cable still plugged in, so that's good, isn't it? Okay, right, 6. In 6th place, if you disagree, put your list, of course, is The Birds and the Bees on the ZX Spectrum 48K, published by BYTE in 1983. Now, this is from my favourite era of gaming, games you couldn't really get away with nowadays. But a nice, cute, innocent era. You control a bee called Boris, and essentially you must collect nectar from plants by flying across, then get back to your hive, and so the farmer at the end of the day can make honey. All the time there's pigeons or insects trying to get you and kill you. A bit of inertia on the movement, and every time you collect the nectar, because you can get 1 lot, 2 lots, 3 lots, but the more you collect at the same time to bring back to the hive, the slower your bee goes, and making it a little bit harder to move about. There we go. So if you was born in the last 10 years, you'd probably think, what the hell is going on here? But for me, it's classic nostalgia. Right near the beginning of when games were, coders were learning what to do, and I think it's a good example. So well worthy of 6th place. In 5th place, on the other end there, but this is on the Spectrum 128K. It's a game that was recommended for me to review, which happens every now and again. A game called BEDLAM by Go, which are owned by US Gold, or become US Gold in 1988. So a 5-year gap between that and the Birds and the Bees. This game is ultra super difficult, which I find a lot of vertical scrolling shooters difficult. But there's no real tactics for this. It's just go around and shoot everything and avoid everything. Graphically, it looks brilliant. Cleverly in the coding, they've avoided colour bleed as well. Good experience. I reviewed it with a poke on. Would be pretty frustrating without that poke unless you were to spend hours and hours on it, but no doubt some people did. It's gone into my top 6 because it just looks so good and a great example for the time. And in 4th place, on the Game Boy Advance, is Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance by Midway Games in 2002. We don't review that many Game Boy Advance games. If you want it, I'll try and increase it if I can do. It's just finding the time because they take a little while to do with the sound editing there. I won't go into it, but they tend to do. Now, a long time ago, I reviewed Mortal Kombat Advance, which wasn't that good of a game, so I was a bit worried about this. Again, this one come from a recommendation. Still working. What's going on round here? I need investment. Yes, what was I saying? Yes, come from a recommendation again, and Midway Games have used a whole new fighting engine. It's a little bit 3D, you can go backward and forward, so it's not just straight 2D on a flat screen. Character, it's a little bit easy on normal mode, but there are different modes to go through. Blood spatters there like all Mortal Kombat games. Doesn't compare to the game I reviewed, Mortal Kombat XL on the PlayStation 4, but why would it? As a handheld, this was a big step up. I've been told that Mortal Kombat Tournament Edition is virtually the same as this, with a few additional characters. So 4th, I was quite impressed. I wasn't really going to expect much. I prefer Tekken Advance, I think, and the King of Fighters games to this one, but it's a good example. So if you have a Game Boy Advance, want an extra fighter and you're into that, you can't go too far wrong with this one. So in 6th place then, rounding this up, was The Birds and the Bees on the ZX Spectrum by Bug-Byte in 1983. In 5th place, Bedlam on the 128K Spectrum by Go in 1988. And in 4th place, Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance by Midway Games in 2002. So where does that leave the top 3? Well, we've reviewed so many games this time, you're bound to have a different order than what I have. And all these are on the ZX Spectrum. We tend to review the most ZX Spectrum games, not because I'm lazy. It's a time in there. Admittedly, they are the quickest to do because the files are smaller and the upload's smaller, but I do love the Spectrum. Okay, so in 3rd place on the ZX Spectrum 48K, as you knew, is Return of the Jedi by DOMARK in 1989. Based on the film of the same name, of course. I've already reviewed Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back in this series. It's used vector graphics. This works slightly different. They've done away with the vector graphics, again, based on the arcade cabinet, so DOMARK had to follow that. Different stages. One is in Endor, where you're on a speeder bike, trying to avoid trees and other biker scouts to get to the Ewok village. Then you're on the Millennium Falcon, trying to blow up the Death Star, so it's following the plot line of the film a little bit. And then you're back on Endor on those small scout walker things, trying to avoid logs and then getting to the end, and then back on the Millennium Falcon again, over Star Destroyers and that sort of stuff. It's a cute game. I like it. Again, I play with a cheese on it. It's a good game, Spectrum-wise. I liked it. We will review it on the Commodore Amiga at some stage as well, no doubt, but good. All those 3 games are good. Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, DOMARK 89. In 2nd place, the 2nd and 1st place is 2 games from the same series. You know what I'm going to say now. If you've been watching the channel for 2 weeks, don't expect you to watch everything, but if you watch some of it, I'm most pleased. If you watch all of it, fantastico. But in 2nd place, MAGICLAND Dizzy by Codemasters in 1990 on the ZX Spectrum 48K. Again, it's a good game. It's a good game. I like all the Dizzy games, really. I find it hard to pick a favourite, but this time I had to because we reviewed 2 in the same 2-week period. But Dizzy is an egg. In this one, you're walking around, you've got to solve sort of puzzles. There's not too much I can say about it. And I'm pleased that during the review, although I was quite new to it, I did solve a few things as I was going through it, which is it's good to see. It's nothing worse than me playing a game because I haven't got time to practice, or we'd only do one game every 2 weeks. So it's a good learning curve, and you can get it quite quickly. And at number 1, again, Fantasy World Dizzy by Codemasters 1989, the year before. So very, very similar games, similar control systems, but they do try and give you different things to do. Quite often you are rescuing the Yoke folk from certain doom, or the Wizard Zax, or there's been some sort of ultimate calamity there. They're good. Now, we've still got a few Dizzy games to review, which we will do over the coming weeks. So, I know I have to rush through here, but otherwise we'd be here for hours. In third place, then, it was Return of the Jedi by DOMARK in 1989. In second place, MAGICLAND Dizzy by Codemasters in 1990. And top of the shop, Fantasy World Dizzy, again by Codemasters in 1989. Thanks for watching all these videos as always. It's always appreciated. I'll try and keep you updated with other vlogs about how the channel's going. You've got that blog now if you ever want to check that, but most of the time we'll try and at least aim to do a video blog. So thank you very much. Thanks for watching again. Until next time, take great care of yourself and have very fun. Goodbye.
Goodbye.